Ask an Expert is a webinar series created by TeamGrowNL and Connector NL with the St. John's Board of Trade. And my name is Tanya Heath. I'm with TeamGrowNL. This is an initiative that aims to help local businesses meet their human resources needs by providing key information regarding immigration and the attraction of Newfoundlander and Labradorians living abroad. We also have Shanna Mugford and Ashley Verge here, who you just met, from the Connector NL team. So Connector NL is a program that helps individuals that are new to the provincial workforce grow their professional network and connect with career opportunities here in the province. So this series allows industry experts and employers engage with job seekers that are interested in working in various sectors of Newfoundland and Labrador. Today we will and accounting, and we have with us Jason Hillyard and Kerri Riddle, and I'm just going to take a in January 2014 to lead the unification of the accounting profession in Newfoundland and Labrador, became the first CEO of CPA Newfoundland and Labrador upon proclamation of the Chartered Professional Accountants and Public Accountants Act on January 9th, 2015. So in this role, Jason leads the regulatory body of Newfoundland and Labrador's more than 1,900 members. CPA NL serves and protects the public interest in all matters relating to the conduct of chartered professional accountants and public accountants. In addition, it exists to promote and increase the knowledge, skill, and proficiency of CPAs and to protect the integrity of the profession. And prior to joining CPA Newfoundland and Labrador, Jason leveraged his CPA skill set and ethical decision-making to provide oversight of multi-million-dollar projects through his role with Johnson Insurance, and he helped clients with key strategic initiatives during his tenure with Ernst & Young in the advisory services practice. He holds a Bachelor of Commerce from Memorial University of Newfoundland and earned his accounting designation in 2007. And Carrie is a partner in the Newfoundland and Labrador Grant Thornton office and leverages over 10 years of experience providing assurance and advisory services to a wide range of privately held business, public sector organizations, and not-for-profit organizations. She works with clients to understand their business, the challenges they face, and their opportunities for growth and success, including growing through acquisitions. She also helps business owners plan for succession and maximize stakeholder value. She has significant experience in the areas of business plan development and financial analysis and uses her extensive analytical skills to help her clients understand complex information and make strategic decisions. She holds a Bachelor of Commerce from Memorial University as well and earned her accounting designation in 2010. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank both of them for being here today. Thank you so much. And so how this session will work, everyone, is that Jason and Kerri will present for about 10 to 15 minutes each, and then I will pass it off to Shanna to take you through a question and answer period. So during the presentations, feel free to type any questions that you may have into the chat box, and we will address them afterwards in the question and answer section. Otherwise, you can wait until then and we can go through them in that time. So that's it for me for now, and I'd like to get things started by passing things right over to Jason.
Thank you. I'll just get my screen up here now. All right, I hope you can see my screen there now.
All good, Jason.
Excellent. All right, thank you. So I'm just going to walk you through a little bit of an overview, I guess, of what the CPA profession is all about, and hopefully answer some of the questions that you may have coming into today's session. There we go. Now it's moving for me. Thanks. So first, what is a CPA? I'm sure most of you on the call likely know a CPA or have a relative that's a CPA, and you probably have some conception of what it is, but possibly a misconception. That's typically what we find. Everybody sort of thinks that we count money all day or add things constantly, but there's a lot more to it than that. So just to give you some of the basics, CPA stands for Chartered Professional Accountants. It's Canadian designation. It's a regulated profession, so it's similar to the other handful of regulated professions, which includes things like doctors, lawyers, engineers. We have over 217,000 members in Canada and internationally that hold the CPA designation from Canada, so the Canadian CPA. And it's a degree. It's not a degree. It's a business designation, and it's Canada's largest and most prestigious. One thing that is often, I guess, a misconception about CPAs, as I mentioned earlier, is that all we do is add and whatnot. But and a lot of people think as well that you need to have a very good knowledge of math, and that you'd be it's hard math or things like that. But in actual fact, the accountants really don't need any more than, say, a grade 10 math. It's just an interesting FYI. It's it's generally relatively simple math that we would do when it comes to math type things, but really it's the business skills that we learn in the trade. So a lot of people as well, if it were you that were a CPA and not me, I guess just what that CPA means and what that tells me. If I see somebody with a CPA, it tells me that you've completed at least one university degree. It also tells me that after your graduation, you've completed the rigorous CPA program. You're obviously financial literate and well trained for strategy. There's a good chance you're a manager or an executive, but maybe a specialist. You probably have a strong negotiation. You're probably in a strong negotiating position when applying for jobs. You can likely work anywhere in the world that you choose. And you probably make a great salary. So I just wanted to run you through as well the skill set of a CPA. So beyond math, the fundamental skills, fundamentally we have the skills for business insights. And we do that through a number of areas, but I'll run you through some. So financial reporting. So, we look at financials and we're able to sort of interpret those to see that, if your profits have dropped 2%, but it's because there's, your supply costs are rising and things like that. So we're able to read financial statements and interpret them and provide advice to clients. Again, management accounting, very similar. We can see that and do analysis that would help us identify, I guess, if lowering the price maybe slightly would allow you to sell way more units of something and therefore, more profit. And more revenue. We're good at strategy and governance. With the change of, that would allow us to imagine things like, okay, if we got a change in government from one to another, and some of the policies that they have in place, it may help us sort of pivot quickly or help our businesses pivot to meet the agendas of the government and make sure we're aligned. If you work in audit and insurance as a CPA, you can vouch for the accuracy of financial statements. We also go through finance and taxation are sort of two other core elements of the CPA profession. The other thing that people don't often link, I guess, to CPAs is what we call more of our enabling competencies. And they range from, you see the 5 listed here, but, professional and ethical behavior. I would say that's one thing that every CPA has in common. Really depend, your experience can be very vast. But I would say as a regulated profession and generally just through your training, ethics are core and professionalism is core. So that's the one thing I would say, all CPAs have in common. And a lot of people would think that it would be something else, something more tactical. But ethical behavior is really fundamental to our profession. We're great problem solvers, and using that problem solving capability, we're able to enable organizations to make the right decisions. Good communicators, good at self-management and leading a team, those sorts of elements are all key to the role of a CPA. So I wanted to run through sort of a different approach on this, but 5 unique things about CPAs that you may not have been aware of. So CPA is different than doctors or lawyers, well, doctors in particular. We don't just work in one sector. As the slide here says, most jobs take place in one place or another. Doctors work in hospitals, pilots work in airplanes, but a CPA is really needed in every organization. you know, you could be in the film industry, you could be in public sector, you could be running your own business, you could be in a firm. You know, so it's really a very wide net, I guess, as a CPA, as the kinds of organizations you can be involved in. There's not many other careers really that is quite like that. Here's just a snapshot of you know, in Canada where CPAs are working. This one's focused, the slide's focused a little more heavily on our Atlantic Canada organizations, but it does stretch out to some of the ones across the country, like the Montreal Canadiens. So, you know, CPAs are working in every kind of organization: Cirque du Soleil, Bell, Atlantic Lotto, Grant Thornton. You know, so it's really a very broad array of the kinds of roles and the kinds of organizations you can work in. Second item, we work everywhere in the world. So, you know, obviously the Canadian CPA, people are taking it, they're living in Canada. You know, the vast majority of our members obviously would continue to live in Canada. But of our members, we do have 12,000 right now that choose to work abroad. So that could include the US, Europe, the Caribbean, and Asia. And the way the CPA works, I guess, we're sort of sought after, and we're able to, we have what we call mutual recognition agreements. We're able to sort of transfer from one country to another and integrate into the accounting profession in those countries where we have recognition agreements. Here's just a little more background, and I guess even within the Newfoundland Labrador membership, I took a look before this presentation. I have members that, while they're members of CPA Newfoundland Labrador, they are living and working in countries like Australia, Bermuda, Cayman Islands, New Zealand, Qatar, Switzerland, United States, United Arab Emirates, and the United Kingdom. That was just in my you know, membership here in Newfoundland and Labrador. We have folks in all those countries. Third item that's a bit unique about CPAs is we work in every type of role. So again, back to the discussion on, you know, doctors and pilots. You know, your role is you're a doctor or you're a pilot. Many jobs, you know, really don't have a career ladder. You come in as a doctor, you're a doctor. It's yes, you start off high, and you know, there are specialties, but it would be very focused in your role as a doctor. But CPAs, you know, we have a lot of career progression, I guess. You know, and there's say thousands of routes you could go and roles you could end up in, that your business acumen and your understanding of you know, reading financial statements, understanding strategy and business can really allow you to move into all kinds of senior roles with various organizations and different levels and specialties. Here's just a quick snapshot of a typical, I guess, or some typical approaches or the career ladder that a CPA will go through. So in industry, you know, you may start off in, you know, accounting technician or analyst kind of position, but then you can quickly move into, you know, more senior roles, be it controller, director of operations, VP of finance, CFO, CEO, board member. That sort of thing. That's typical of industry and entrepreneurship. In the profit or the public sector and the not-for-profit sector, again, you likely start off as an accounting technician or an analyst, but you would likely move into, you know, the executive director, or you could be the premier in case in Quebec. You could be the comptroller or the treasurer on a board, roles like that. And then in the accounting firm, you know, you start off as auditor, you lead into management roles or very specific, you know, forensic auditor, cybersecurity expert, those kinds of roles, on up to partner or managing director or senior advisor. That's sort of the natural progression, I guess, in those three industries. Fourth thing that I would say is unique is the incredible job security. And that's something I see quite a lot of, I guess, sitting in my role here at CPA Newfoundland and Labrador. I'm able to sort of keep an eye on when members move from one organization to another, or if they move from employed to unemployed status. And the one thing I can say for sure is, if they move to unemployed, it's usually by choice or they're in transition, and very quickly, I see, a member has left organization A and has turned up in organization B. It's very uncommon for somebody to sit in an unemployed status for any kind of period of time, unless it's a life choice, that they're taking a temporary break from the workforce while they're raising children or dealing with medical issues or things like that. But if they're actually looking for work, they're generally at work. And that really, the one thing unique, I guess, for CPAs in that regard is it really doesn't matter what the industry is doing or what the market is doing. When the going is good and business are doing really well, they need accountants. And when business is poor and they're struggling and they're trying to manage their cash flows, they probably need their accountants even more. So it's a very unique role like that. We really don't see a lot of impact, I guess, on economic indicators sort of in the province. If things are happening, yeah, there might be, if you get one or two organizations that are pulling out of the province, they may very well lay off. But again, there's always somebody, sort of another organization, waiting to swoop up any talent that hits the market. I know this is probably a question on everybody's mind, so I thought I'd just throw it in there. And this comes from our salary survey that we do every 2 to 3 years. So we have, as you can see here, I guess these are our average salaries across Canada of our members. So the average Canadian salary in Canada is 140,000. This is from the 2017 survey. The most recent survey, I think, has that number closer around 150 now. Similarly, in Atlantic Canada, the average salary is 117,000, but the latest survey that I was reviewing yesterday, it was showing more like 125,000 in Atlantic Canada. And then the fifth element about what's unique, I guess, for CPAs is they have the best opportunities to give back. And I know this to be true, and I know Kerri will probably speak to this as well, but boards and not-for-profit organizations like that are always looking for the help of a CPA, and they're always looking to sort of add to their boards with financial acumen. So we're in a very unique position, I guess, to take on those volunteer opportunities. In all kinds of boards. I myself have been involved with the YMCA in the past, and you can really get involved wherever you like. You just sort of you put your hand up or you see opportunities and put your name in. You do certainly get an advantage to getting those kinds of roles, because they're always looking for CPAs and people that help with that side of the business. So I want to share a little bit as well, I guess, and I know Kerri will probably do something similar, but my own CPA story. So I wanted to sort of address the 5 or 6 points that are there on the board, but I guess my initial interests were certainly around math and business. My family had a number of small businesses when I was growing up, and I was always involved in some way. Either in my, in a very young age, I was work on a cash register in my mother's little convenience store in a very small town in an outport in Newfoundland here. And my dad had a home heating business. So, always involved in some way in those businesses. And I was always, I would say, very interested in the inner workings of the business side and how it all sort of came together, the revenue, the expenses, and how you sort of manage all of that. And so it was no stretch for me, I guess, that I ended up doing my commerce degree with Memorial University. After that time, I went to work for CHC Helicopter Corporation and worked on a number of big projects, actually in Norway and the UK. And while I was there, though, the people I was working for, and I was sort of in and out of IT and accounting and a bunch of different roles, but the people I was working for in all those roles were CPAs. You know, the CPA I reported most directly to ended up going on to become the Chief Information Officer for CHC Helicopters. So, you know, again, it goes to show that, you know, as a CPA, you're not limited to just financial roles. And so, you know, I started my CPA, my professional accounting journey, a certified general accountant at that time, with CHC, and then I transitioned. CHC moved out of the province, and I went to work for Ernst & Young, and finished my degree, my designation there, and basically had progressively higher level jobs ever since, really, either with Ernst & Young or Johnson Insurance, and now here at CPA Newfoundland Labrador. Obviously, I'm in a very good role right now, but quite honestly, I guess the possibilities are endless with the CPA designation. You know, the doors really do open, and you just need to sort of see where your career takes you from there. And I guess I got a question slide here, but I guess I'll refer back to the folks here. I guess we probably won't move to questions quite yet.
Yeah, let's hold questions for now, but if anybody has any questions, you can certainly write them while they're fresh in your mind. You can write them in the chat box, and we will get to them right after Kerri's presentation, if that's okay, Jason.
That's excellent, thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. It was certainly interesting to hear all of the unique things about being a CPA. It's a interesting role to have in the workforce, for sure. So now we're going to move on to Kerri. I don't think Kerri has a presentation to go up, so she will just take it from here. Oh, Kerri, you are muted.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute myself there. The host had to do it. All good. Thanks so much. So hi, everyone. It's so great to be here and share a little bit about myself and the industry I've been working in for over 13 years. It's kind of hard to believe that, to be honest. Just a little bit on my background. I'm from Random Island, Trinity Bay. I graduated MON in 2007 with a Bachelor of Commerce co-op degree. I did my co-op terms at a small service firm in St. John's, and started working at a Big Four firm out of university. I wrote the UFE in 2008 and received my CA designation, now CPA designation, in 2010 once I met my experience requirements. So I stayed at that firm for about 6+ years. I was a manager when I decided I wanted to change. I actually moved on to industry for a couple of years, and there I took on treasury and management roles in the finance group. So somewhere along the way, I realized that I missed the firm culture and decided I wanted to join Grant Thornton, and I did that in 2015. I had heard really great things about their culture, and I knew a few former colleagues that had worked there. So while at Grant Thornton, I've worked as a senior manager in assurance. I actually transferred to our advisory practice for a couple of years and gained really valuable experience helping clients buy and sell their business, due diligence, getting access to the best financing, managing their cash flow, amongst other things. And in the fall of 2019, I transferred back to assurance as a partner effective Jan 1, 2020. So this is my first year as partner, and it's just been an amazing experience. And amongst all of that, I've worked with clients across a variety of industries, company sizes. Over the last few years, I've primarily worked with private entities and not-for-profit entities, reviewing their financial statements, but also helping them grow, work through challenges, helping them plan for the future. And in doing that, I've worked really closely with colleagues in different areas of our practice in tax and advisory to bring the best team to our clients. And I guess I wanted to go through that because it really does show it in a span of 13 years how your experience and your role can change. And similar to Jason, where things started and where we are now, it is quite different. And the opportunities that we've had has been quite vast. I wanted to go through a little bit about my day-to-day right now, because I know I try to think back to my university days and my, student days, and you had these ideas of, or you didn't have any idea, I guess, even better, of what a day would look like. So I wanted to go through a few of those examples. And so my day as a partner right now is a variety of things. I'm collaborating with colleagues on different initiatives and managing our business daily. I'm working with teams on financial statement audits, reviews, compilations, and special engagements. I'm meeting with clients. I'm running our business. And I'm being out in the community and market, meeting people, making connections, but also, as Jason mentioned, giving back to the community, volunteering on boards, and various fundraising efforts. So an actual example day. So I usually get into the office around 7:30 a.m. I'm just one of those people that love those first couple of hours, drinking my coffee, getting caught up on emails, getting a head start on the day. I might have a scheduling meeting around 9. Then I might have time set aside to review a file. And after that, I may take a colleague to lunch, or I might meet someone from a law firm or a bank to talk with the market. After lunch, I may have a client meeting to discuss their year end, review financial statements, see how they're doing. From there, I might roll right into a meeting with another client who is planning for succession, like planning to sell their business or pass it on to family members. And for that, I might bring one of my colleagues in tax or advisory to help me guide them through the various considerations and next steps. And at the end of the day, I might even then have a management meeting or a firm-wide call, or sit down and review some key metrics of the business. At this point in my career, time management, prioritization, thinking big picture, and working well with people is foundational. And it's taken me years and years to get to this point. But also finding balance and wellness in my life is a priority for me. And it's really a priority for like the firm I work with and our colleagues. So I'll usually have a Pilates or a spin class. I'll take the dog for a walk with my husband, or I'll plan to have a nice meal or spend time with family and friends. But how the day-to-day looks is going to really vary based on where you are in your career. So some examples. So from an accounting firm perspective, as a new hire or a senior accountant, the majority of your day will probably be spent working on actual engagements, completing audits, chatting with the client, collaborating with colleagues on different initiatives, but really just soaking up all the experiences you can get and making the most of that time. But then from a firm perspective, as a manager or senior manager, you'll spend more time supervising teams and engagements, having discussions with clients throughout engagements on progress, resolving issues, and collaborating with colleagues on different initiatives at different levels throughout a firm. And your role begins to change, and you take all that great experience from those first few years, you build that into this new role. But from outside of a firm, like in industry, what the day-to-day looks like, it's can vary greatly based on the area you work in, the level of experience you have, at what stage you're in, and the position you have. So for example, within industry, where things are very deadline driven, you would most likely be busiest during certain times of the month. So I have friends who work in financial reporting roles, and much of their day is really spent posting or reviewing trial balance accounts, doing various financial analysis, working with colleagues on projects for improvement, reviewing processes, meeting with management or boards to review financial results. But then from another perspective, I also have friends who work in the area of internal audit, and that is a way that you can branch out. And they spend a lot of time developing internal audit plans, reviewing various financial or operational processes. They actually sit down with colleagues to walk through processes, understand controls, identify gaps and areas of improvement, and they often report back to management and the board on those findings. So your day can look quite different depending on where you are, at what point you are in your career. Just to expand a little bit, Jason had spoke about this a little bit, but speaking broadly from my experience, the traits that I see of those that have been the most successful in the industry, I've thought a lot about this, and so I've summarized a few key things. I think just foundationally, being personable and approachable and able to connect with people is really, really important. Being organized and having good project management skills. Being accountable for the role you're in and the responsibilities that go along with that is going to be huge in helping you propel your career. Coaching is a big thing. So within a firm and within industry, it really doesn't matter. You're always going to be working with people in these types of roles. And so both coaching others and being coached, being able to take positive and constructive feedback and use it to grow and develop is very, very important. You have to have an appetite and acceptance of lifelong learning and development. It's a big part of this industry. Having a growth mindset, and this might actually just be a GT term, but the foundation of what it means, I think, is consistent. It's really about looking for new ways to do things, not being afraid of change, looking for improvement, looking at the positive, being able to step back and walk in other people's shoes and have the empathy and compassion to understand how they may be feeling. That whole mindset, and we call it a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, and we really coach our people to understand what that means, because that has helped me every step of the way when I just take a minute and think through how I see something or how I react to something. Leadership is huge. Jason mentioned this as well. Like in our industry, CPAs in particular hold really high positions and can grow in the company. So many people in our industry do end up in those leadership roles. So how you develop your leadership style will really impact how you progress. Being confident but humble, caring about people and the broader good of the team, the client, etc. Caring about the community, the market, and giving back, and just all of that coming together and having a team mentality and being collaborative. So I guess the opposite of all those things along the way in any career path, and in particular in this industry, could really hold you back or cause you to not get as far as you want to go. I have reflected a lot on the choices that I made and the path that I took, and I think back to my business degree and the benefits of that business degree, and recognition goes without saying, and the career opportunities go without saying. I think the variety of different focus areas and ways you can take this anywhere you want to is really important to note, and building on the experience to guide your long-term path. But more importantly than anything else, I think a business degree gives you the ability to adapt and change focus within that broader umbrella and skill set. And I've kind of veered, away from, I'm a partner now, but I've spent time in treasury, I've spent time in different management roles, I've been in advisory. And as long as you're kind of staying true to the general knowledge and path that you want to go on, it all builds up and it all helps move you forward. Jason did a really good job of covering the benefits of a CPA designation. I guess from my perspective, the recognition is second to none. I think the breadth of skill and foundational knowledge that it gives you is something that sets out to me. The earning potential is really going to depend on where you work and at what stage of your career you're in. So the opportunities for promotion and advancement in your own personal work ethic is going to drive that earning potential. So when you think about the number that Jason put up there, that's the average, the mean, and it takes time to kind of get to that level, but the more you put into it and the more of a work ethic you have, you can far surpass that years down the road. It's also an opportunity to use your passion to drive the specific experience you want to build on. And this often starts with the foundational skills that help you develop as a professional, and CPA does exactly that. So there's tons of opportunities in the industry. Broadly speaking, there's so many different opportunities and ways your career can develop. In a firm environment, I know at Grant Thornton we have 3 main areas of practice, and it's very similar in most firms, and assurance is the practice that I'm a partner of, and it's that's where you have your financial statement audit review and compilations, and you can focus within a specific industry or an accounting standard within that area of practice. You can also focus different sizes or types of entities. Then we have advisory, and that covers a few different areas. Transactions is what we call one of those areas, and that is where you get into buying and selling a business, due diligence, valuations, financing. We have an area called business risk services, and that's risk management, forensic reviews, IT reviews, and solutions. We also have a business consulting practice. which is a broad range of things. And within that area, advisory area of practice, there's after a CPA designation, and as you're moving your way through your career, there's opportunities to further advance your learning and to pick up additional designations if that's the path you want to go on. CBV is one of those, and it's evaluator's designation. Within tax as well, as a service line, there's various areas to specialize, and people who take the tax route often complete an in-depth tax course as well. And in industry, the various ways to expand your experience and specialize, financial reporting is probably the most common. Controllers, CFOs, we're all familiar with those terms. Internal audit, like I said, cash management and treasury. One of the things I did want to mention, you know, specializing in something like tax can really narrow your opportunities, but it can set you apart and increase your earning potential. I think just generally speaking from an industry perspective, I think there's a real need in our province for specialized tax professionals. The last thing, I know I'm probably getting close on time, but the last thing that I just wanted to mention was really around the advantages of working in the industry in Newfoundland specifically. And I think this really depends on your perspective, but I can tell it from my perspective. Newfoundland, for me, really offers a variety of industries and business opportunities. I think our market is largely made up of private businesses, which I really love. I love helping business owners navigate entrepreneurship and overcome challenges, growth, and succeed in their business and help them maintain through really tough times. And I think that contributes to our economy, and that's where my passion is. And that's what's got me to where I am today. I think the tech industry is gaining a lot of ground here. It's really exciting, and Genesis is playing a huge role in this, and it's exciting to hear all about the great things that they're doing. And if you were even to go on today and Google Verifin, I think you'd learn some exciting news about what's happening in our tech industry here. But for me, this is home. I love the people, the culture, my colleagues here, the clients I have the privilege to work with, and our province is one of the most beautiful and safest places in the entire world. So I love to travel, and eventually I'll get back to that. It's been quite a year, but for me, I wanted my roots to be close to my family and in a place that I was truly proud of. And it can be fast-paced, but I think flexibility and understanding is at the core of our culture. And it's a give and take, but as long as everyone has everyone's best interests at heart, everyone wins. And I truly believe that's what our culture stands for right here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kerri. That was really great to hear. Especially a day-to-day, it's so nice to, you know, it's great to know what a CPA is, but when you get down to the day-to-day, it's really valuable information just to know what you'll actually be doing in the run of a day. So thank you for all of that. That's super valuable. We're going to head right into the question and answer period. So I'm going to pass things off to Shanna right now, who will navigate that.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a lot of questions that have come through, really, really good questions. So are you guys available to stay a couple minutes after 3 o'clock just so we can try to get through them? Or if not, I can email them off to you. Okay, so I'll get right into it though, just to get the conversation going. The first question is from someone who has done a kinesiology degree at MUN and decided to switch to accounting. And they're currently doing the 2-year accounting program at CNA. And they would like to know how many years it would take to complete the CPA if they started in 2022 or 2023 with the accounting diploma and the kinesiology degree.
Jason, I'm going to let you take that one, but
I guess that one's for me. So, you know, first off, I would suggest you talk to our student recruitment advisor. But in general terms, I guess most likely in the 2-year accounting program at CNA, you might have a couple of the prerequisites done from our prerequisite. We had a 14-course prerequisite list, so you'd likely have a couple of those done. But ultimately, it's going to mean, you know, 10 or a dozen prerequisites to be done, plus the professional program. But I guess the answer in years is it's flexible. You know, these prerequisite courses generally are 6 to 8 weeks. You can do multiple at a time if you have the capacity to do multiple at a time. What's probably more typical is one at a time. But again, if you're working part-time or you have more hours available, you can do multiple at a time. So ultimately, you could probably get through all those prerequisites in a year, depending on what you got missing and how aggressive you want it to be. Similarly, our professional level program is essentially 6 courses, which ends with the common final exam. You can theoretically you can do that in as little as 10. I think it's 10 months was the latest thing I could see. Actually, I think that came out this morning. Just the way we had our course offerings available in Atlantic Canada now, it's possible to expedite that even more. Before, we used to say fast track was a year and a half, but I guess the way their offerings are spread out right now, it is technically possible to do it even faster. What's more typical is 2 years. So I would say, a conservative approach for somebody, you already have a degree, so you don't need another degree, albeit it's not a business degree, but that really doesn't matter. You have some business courses then through CNA. So, conservatively, you're probably looking at 3 to 4 years to complete it. But, what's normal is that you're working during all of that. So it's just something you do after hours. I know myself, the CPA program didn't exist when I started, but, I would have started at my coursework in 2003 and, finally finished in 2007. And I was sort of doing it piecemeal while I was working full time and traveling. So long answer, but 3 to 4 years.
Perfect. Okay, so the second question that we have is from a third-year business management accounting student at CNA who is graduating in April and is interested in doing the BBA and CPA. And they wanted to hear from both of you about an important piece of advice you would give to a graduating CNA student.
I can jump in, and I'm actually going to take Kerri's words. So I'm going to get credit now for one of the things that Kerri said that really resonated with me. And she talked about change and adapting to change. And I would say that for me has been fundamental to my career. And I thrive on it, quite honestly. I love it. I don't like anything staying static too long. So embrace change, roll with it. Jump in and learn from it and be the sort of change champion in your organization. And I think your opportunities are endless.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think keeping an open mind and soaking up every experience is going to be really key. Sometimes people can feel like this is not my job or I shouldn't have to do that. And I've just always kept an open mind throughout my career and just put my hand up for literally everything that came my way. And it's really helped lead the way for me. And that's what my advice would be for sure.
I think that's great advice. It's keeping an open mind is always great in every facet of your life. So the next question is for Jason. Someone wants some details about the mutual recognition agreement between Canadian CPA and ACCA. So this person is going to become an ACCA member by February 2021. And how soon will they get the CPA NL designation once they put in their application? And then the second part of that question is the existing MRA will expire in April 30th of 2021. Is there any plan to renew the mutual recognition agreement?
Okay.
Hefty questions.
I guess one key element there is, it does take us sometimes, a couple of months to process mutual recognition agreement applications. There's a lot of nuances to that as well, which I won't necessarily get into about how you receive your ACCA and there's certain rules around all of that. But the reality is, I guess, so it may take us a couple of months, and yes, the current agreement is set to expire April 30th. However, it's based on application date. So as long as the application is in prior to the April 30th deadline, if it does take us a couple of months, that the fact that the MRA has expired wouldn't impact that is on us, it was received by our office prior to that date. And I guess in the second part of that question was, what was happening to sort of renew that. And there's ongoing work between the Canadian CPA profession and the ACCA as we speak, quite honestly, to evaluate some changes they've made in their program and see how that maps to our program. It may or may not look exactly like it does today. It might be some variation, but that remains to be seen based on that assessment.
All right. And now the next question is for both or either. Do you think that the market for CPA will ever be saturated? Which is it's a good one. It's good. Really think about that one.
I personally don't. I really don't think that there's ever going to be a time when cash and earnings and profit and fiscal responsibility and any machine, if we think about it from that perspective, any machine can put out the numbers, but what do they mean and what do we need to do with them and how can we strategically grow and succeed? It's never going to go away.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
I'll echo your comment on that one, Carrie. And we do hear, and we obviously, as sort of strategists ourselves, are focused on, what's next for the CPA profession and what does artificial intelligence mean and how does that impact our organizations. But, realistically, I think the people that think that artificial intelligence will replace CPAs are the people that think that we're bookkeepers. There's quite a difference, and will computers and IT be able to do some of the data entry kind of work and whatnot? Yes, and obviously we don't know what the future will bring, but my view is, and I've seen it through my own career, the more IT and data and stuff that you add to industry and organizations, the more you need your CPA. I've made a career off of IT kind of things, quite honestly, in the past, and it just makes things more complicated. You need to audit through the system, you need to understand the systems, and CPAs bring all the right skills for that. So no, I don't ever think we'll get to a point where the market's saturated.
Yeah, and I wonder if it was maybe coming at it from a different angle. I might have come at it from maybe the wrong angle there. But even if we think about, university and colleges and accounting majors or business majors, like because CPA offers the opportunity to expand in so many different directions that we're really not even talking about a specific type of role. I think that just strengthens the fact that it'll never saturate because you can go in so many different directions.
Yeah.
So a question that's sort of related to that is about information technology taking the lead in the labor market. And this person would like to know from both of you if you have any advice on how to better position, like as a CPA, to better position yourselves to be IT savvy to avoid being outdated.
Still trying to do that myself. So I don't know if I should be the one offering advice. I mean, I think you just have to, it's constant learning. Like when you see a new thing or you're trying to learn a new thing, you need to commit to learn it. And as right now for me, I would think that I'm a little bit IT savvy, but there's many people in our organization that far surpass my skill in that area. And they're, I think they're excelling in some way because they've done that.
Some terminology we throw around a lot amongst my peer group within the CPA profession across the country is, the need to learn, relearn, and unlearn, which unlearn sounds a little silly sometimes, but the reality is, the way we learned to do certain things 10 years ago is not necessarily the way it's done today. So sometimes you have to sort of, not only learn something new, but try to forget what you what you once learned. IT, in my mind, I think if you, I think if you are IT savvy and whatnot, I think that it is certainly a benefit to you in today's market. I think where you can partner accounting and IT, you really have the capacity, I guess, to put yourself out in a different realm, and I think you'll be very well rewarded for that if you're sort of good in both. And I know Kerri is as well. She's understating her capacity there, but you know, I think that does bode well for your future if you can embrace both.
Excellent. Okay, so the next couple of questions are related more to the length of time that it takes to complete a CPA. So the first one is asking if you would recommend university students who are older than average to pursue the CPA, knowing they have to go through the programs after graduation.
I guess my short answer to that is yes. I would certainly still suggest you pursue it. You know, it's never too late. And yeah, it can probably feel a little daunting and can be, you know, obviously challenging to balance, but the rewards will be well worth it.
And Carrie, did you have anything you want to add to that? Or
No, that sums it up.
Excellent. Okay, so then the next question says that this person heard that they needed 30 months of relative experience in the field to become a CPA. And they were wondering what potential roles would you say that are available in St. John's for for a fresh BBA accounting graduate?
Lots of roles, I guess. You know, you could be into your technician kind of role to start. You know, over the 30 months, it's expected that you're taking on increasingly more complex sort of work, I guess, over that 30-month period. But you know, technicians, or if I look at the firms, you know, your staff accountant, senior accountant,
Yeah.
you know, and that could be in assurance or it could be in the advisory practice. You know, I'm sure if I went on Career Beacon right now, I would probably see a half a dozen postings right now that would that had probably went up in the last 10, 12 days that would qualify, at least for the either in the early part of the 30 months or the latter part of the 30 months.
Yeah, and it is a factor of timing too. And so from a firm's perspective, there's certain times of the year when hiring happens more regularly, and then but it can happen sporadically. So it's really a factor of timing, and you just have to keep an eye on it really closely.
Yeah.
All right, and that was all of the questions from the group chat. If anybody else has any more questions, type now before we leave, I guess. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you both for agreeing to participate in our Ask the Expert or Ask an Expert. I really appreciated hearing both of your stories and how, you know, you sort of led to the same sort of area and the same sort of work, but through completely different channels. That's always nice to hear about the diversity, and also the fact that you were able to give back and volunteer, because that's really, really valuable insight, especially for financial stuff, for these small groups to have been on committees where you really need an accountant or a CPA to be there to help guide you through. So yeah, I think that you guys made some very, very great points and really displayed the exciting adventures you can have as a CPA. Thanks again.
No problem.
Thank you.